welcome to the Scott Moore channel. I think I just said my name, so there's that. And today we're going to be reviewing another album in the Albums I've Heard series called Osama by Sam Shalabi. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, so we start out with the Werthal and 3 L's, and it just starts out really loud with the electric guitar and glockenspiel and people yelling over it, and I would imitate it, but I can't get it just right, and then eventually it calms down. Electric guitar just kind of stops, and then it's just a bass guitar going like doom 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 doom, and then you hear someone going like and so it kind of strange, and then all of a sudden it just blows up. The electric guitar comes back, people screaming over it. It's craziness. You're like, whoa, oh, I'm just, this is crazy. And that stops too. And then, listen to this little thing with them, I think it's spoons. I'm not sure that's a percussion instrument, but I was told that back as a second grader. And, and then it's also a violin, and, or fiddle or something. And, Elizabeth Anka Vajaik, it's definitely not how it's pronounced. It's just like singing it over it. And then you hear somebody, probably Sam, saying, "I have come to tell you that I am Osama." And then all these other instruments that you heard before just come back. And he's like, and he starts talking about it's so hard to just tell what he's hearing, so I actually don't know what he's fully saying. I do know how it starts. He's talking about he died. Now he's not dead anymore, and he had some friends. They did stuff, and I don't know what else he said because it's so hard to tell. And then that just kind of stops, and you're hearing like those little bells you hear in those herb stores, and from like Nepal. Elizabeth Anka is doing the same thing over it. Then eventually it just comes on point of like and it's pretty calming. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the second track starts. It's like, okay, hey, you know what? I'll just play a transition for you, but I'll edit that in so you'll hear it. Alright, transition cue now.
Why don't you suck my big fat Semitic cock?
Alright, you heard it? Good. It's a very weird change that happens, and and then he starts talking about and he starts grilling into you about not reading these weird magazines or the Quran or something, and then he calls you a bunch of slurs, and then he starts describing a tour of the Middle East started with, and yeah, he really goes into that, describing how bad it was and how bad it made me feel. Right, not me, him, this talker, and it's very strange listening to it. And then there's like a band that doesn't know how to be a band playing over it, like bottom, 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 and over that. So try to imagine that, and and then out of nowhere, like this rock song starts after like it's just a violin for a little bit, like bum, bum, bum. I don't know, just like. It's out of nowhere, and there's the same guy screaming over it. And then the third track starts, and I think it's called El Bawi from the Air. And this one is much calmer, much easier to listen to than the first two tracks. So it's like this calm little thing where you're like, okay, I'm singing in Arabic on the instruments. Then all of a sudden it just picks up. It's like an alternative rock thing that you not expect from this. And then with a guitar solo and all that, I'll just kind of hard to describe, so I'll just play it for you. And then, out of nowhere, it just become drums like, and that guy's a drum riff he plays, and just a cat meowing over it. And you're like, oh, that took a turn. And then the song comes back, like like, oh, that's better. That's what I wanted. I'm glad I listened to this, and then, you know, that part ends, and the third track, Shitmobile USA, starts. So this one, it's just like, the same kind of rock band playing before, singing or screaming over it, like you've heard in the first two tracks. And then, like, there's these two guys just talking over it about just all sorts of random stuff. And one guy sounds like that one kid at your school who, would make those weird food at the lunch table, or maybe that's just me. And the other guy sounds like a chipmunk, and they're talking to each other or about whatever. And all of a sudden, that just stops. There's this one guy with a trumpet, and he's just fake crying over it. I'll play that for you. And it all sounds like he's getting whipped later, and I'm not gonna play that. And then the whole thing just starts up again, like, oh, okay. And you're kind of grooving to it, all hearing these people talk over it. And then it ends. And the fifth and final track, Guantanamo Bay, starts on then. And it starts with like this little pop song similar to the El Bawi from the Air, but it's different. And apparently it's from some other band called the Donkeys, it says in the description. Weird name for a band, and I can't find anything about them, so I guess it's the only song you'll ever hear from them. And you're like, see enough to know it. I can't wait. That's how it starts. And then the guitar starts getting strange. It kind of sounds like the most mysterious song on the internet after a little bit. It definitely gets some of the most mysterious song on the internet vibes. And then that just ends. Then you're hearing like this electric guitar and drums, both with a million effects placed on them. And all these other random things play over it. Like at first it's a trombone, and then it becomes like a group of college students on a rowboat, and then it becomes like a little song with one kind of harp, and then another jaw harp, but the other kind of harp is different than the jaw harp. You'll understand when you hear it. And you're like, okay, this is kind of a calm ending. And that's the end of the album. And you're like, wow, that was the weirdest shit I've ever listened to. I want to do it again. At least that's what I was thinking when I heard it. So I just had to listen to the same album over and over again. I couldn't get enough of it. And I was getting oddly personal. Okay. Now the review of the album's over, how these images have been shown. Now, I do have a CD of this album. Just, it was a digital copy and I burned it. So, not much point in showing that. And and so these pictures you'll see are either from the Bandcamp page, but that only got the front cover. So these pictures of the inside of the CD are from an eBay listing I found. I'm not gonna buy that CD. I'm just gonna show the images they posted. So hope you like seeing those. This review is like 2 times longer than the other one. I had a lot more to talk about. My mouth's getting really dry from all this talking.